One.
Thank you, sir. Terry, is this good? That's good. Y'all, I'm not going to take the podium. It's a fairly small gathering this morning, so I'm just going to talk to you from the floor. Politics in South Carolina. When most physicians, just like most of the citizens of South Carolina, think of politics, kind and generous words typically do not come to your mind. And it was not always the case that was true, either in South Carolina or in the nation. And for a host of reasons, that's changed. But that is how it is today. So what does that mean for physicians? What does that mean for you in your daily practice? This year's theme for the annual meeting is communication. How do you communicate with your patients? How do you communicate with your peers? Increasingly, how do you communicate with hospitals? But also, how do you communicate with politicians? As y'all know well, when you have an individual who comes in to see you for whatever reason, and that individual, you can tell that individual doesn't have, let's say, the education that you do. Maybe they don't have a high school education. Maybe they didn't pass the 3rd or 4th grade. You've got to communicate to them in a very different manner than you do to somebody who's got a PhD. Your jargon's got to be different. Even your posture's got to be different. And most of us just do this intuitively. You just kind of learn where you need to fall out on the communication ladder when you speak to your patients. Well, for a number of years, we've had a program called a White Coat Wednesday. And many of y'all have joined us down at the State House to talk to politicians, to your senators and representatives about what's important to you. And many of you in one-on-one conversations, both before and after, has said, I just didn't know what to say, and so I hesitate to get involved because I just don't know the process. I don't know how to really, if you're honest, and many of you have been, how to really handle myself down there, because that's not my world. My world is a clinical setting, it's a scientific setting, it's not a political setting. But many of you, after you've come down and been with us for just a half a day, you really do take away a sense of, I can do this. It's not that hard. They're just people. I can do this. And I'm going to end with just a quick story about our White Coat Wednesdays, but I would just encourage you, it's not hard, they're just people. But you do have to engage with them. Dr. Root asked that I just give a very brief overview of the legislative process, how a bill becomes a law, etc. Y'all have heard this in perhaps your civic classes in high school and elementary school, but it is helpful just to be reminded that there is a process. Sometimes it's like making sausage, but there is a formal process, and it's intentionally slow. So in the legislature, we've got two houses, and they're based off of the English system, Parliament. So in England, you've got a House of Lords and a House of Commons. And in South Carolina, you've got the Senate, which is like the House of Lords, and you've got the other side, the House of Representatives, which is like the House of Commons. And if you've ever taken the opportunity, either online or in person, to watch those two bodies deliberate, you would think that you were in two different hemispheres. One, the Senate, is very cordial. It's a quiet chamber. There are conversations going on, but they're very respectful when somebody else is at the podium. The House is more like a circus. You can't hear almost anything. And constantly, Speaker Harrell is at the podium saying, May the House please come to order. May the House please come to order. May the House please come to order. If you have to have a conversation, please take it outside. And somehow, they all know what's going on. But if you're not entrenched in that process, it just looks like chaos. In the House, you've got 124 representatives. They're elected for a 2-year term, and because of that, they're almost constantly running for re-election. And what that means to them is that almost as soon as they've finished the last campaign cycle, they really are on it again. And so that, in many ways, is always their focus. Unlike the Senate, once you're elected, you serve for a 4-year term. So you really do get settled in and can, in many instances, address the business of the state and of your constituencies. And so the mindsets are very, very different. The House and the Senate, they begin each year on the second Tuesday in January, and they conclude on the first Thursday in June. In South Carolina, we have a 2-year process, a 2-year legislative cycle, and they begin on the odd years. So we, in 2012, are in the second year of that two-year cycle. And what that means is, when a bill is introduced in the first year of the 2-year cycle, it does not need to be introduced again until 2 years later if it doesn't get to the governor's desk. So in almost May now, there's a tremendous push by lobbyists and those who are interested in various bills and things before each house. There's a tremendous push to get that through, because they know if they don't, then they've got to start over next year. And we've also got the budget that's going through the Senate right now, and so that's really holding up everything just as it does every year. And so if you're trying to put up challenges or barriers to a particular bill, this is a great time for you. But if you're really trying to get something through and get something accomplished, it's often a challenge. Those who make up the Senate and the House, yes, you've got your lawyers. Yes, you've got your insurance agents, but you've also got retired policemen. You've got retired educators. You've got barbers. You've got morticians. You've got funeral home directors. You've got tow truck drivers. And so those individuals, just like we all do, they all bring their own set of values. They all bring their own agendas to the State House. Some may truly just have one item that they are passionate about, and that's really all they're there for, is for that one particular issue. Others are there because they are self-made men, and they think, hadn't done the political thing yet, I'll try it. It seems like fun, and I need something else to do. Others are there, and this is just in all candor, because there's a retirement package that's associated with it. So you've got all different types of reasons for being there and objectives. Some are there just for longevity. Some are there for, once I get this one item accomplished or stopped or through, then I'm done. That's my whole purpose. That's my whole reason for being there. Just a little bit about redistricting. Every 10 years, there's a census throughout the nation, and it's for a national census. But all the lines are redrawn after the census comes out. So we had the most recent census was in 2010, and the population shifts cause redistricting, and that's always a contentious process. If you remember back to your civics days, words like gerrymandering and lines being redrawn and how they're drawn and special purpose districts and all that, that's what this is about. So we just had our last round of redistricting, And the old districts, as you see on the left, we had 6 congressional districts in South Carolina. Because of the increase in population, particularly around the coast, Myrtle Beach, Horry County, we've picked up a 7th congressional district. And I think actually former Lieutenant Governor Andre Bauer was here last night, and he's one of the ones who's put his name in to the ring for that congressional seat. But as you see, the lines have been redrawn, and there's significant differences. For instance, if you look to the left in Region 2, or Congressional District 2, that is and was Joe Wilson's district. Well, it went all the way from Columbia, actually a little above Columbia, all the way down to Jasper, to the coast. Most folks would say the people in Columbia are different and have different needs and wants than those in the lower part of Jasper County. And so that district was compacted, and now it's more of the Aiken and Lexington counties. And as you see in District 6, which is Jim Clyburn's district, that district expanded geographically, and the reason for that is because the number of individuals in that district have migrated, if you will, out of the rural communities into either along the coast, in the Midlands, or to Florence or even Orangeburg. So those are the new lines. The darker lines that you see are the lines that go across the counties. Typically what they try to do is they try to draw the lines along the county lines, but that always doesn't work because you've got subdivisions that either are in one county and bleed over into another, and also you've got, for instance, in Richland County, you've got a concentration of population that, for all intents and purposes, you've got to break up in order to make the numbers work. How a bill becomes a law. I am not going to go through this in detail because it would bore you, but it is a slow process, and it's intentionally slow so that the public and all those who are interested can have an opportunity to weigh in through written testimony, through oral testimony, and also to talk with their senators and representatives privately to say, these are my concerns on this, and I would like for you to vote this way or that way. But what basically happens is a bill is filed, it's read the first time, and I'm just going to choose the House. It then goes to a committee, which then is assigned by the committee chair to a subcommittee. You've typically got a hearing on that. If the reports are favorable from the subcommittee and the committee, it then goes back to the floor where it's read for a second time. Often there are amendments that are added, and then it's read for a third time, and then it goes across the hall, and it would go through the Senate process as well. And then it would go to the governor for, in this instance, her signature. It can also sit on the governor's desk and becomes law if she doesn't sign it after a certain number of days. But it is a slow process. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy just to get the necessary hearings to move a particular bill through. And in the Senate, in particular, one senator can basically derail a bill by putting what's called a minority report on the bill. And if a senator were to do that, the minority report holds up the bill. And so oftentimes you'll hear senators are more powerful than representatives. Well, that's true in two ways. One is that there are fewer of them, and two is that the structure is such that one senator can hold up a bill. So that's just a little bit about how it becomes a law. I put this slide up there for two reasons. The first of which is just to show you that you can go online and look up any piece of legislation, call us about it, and see if if it impacts you and your practice. The second is most South Carolinians never go to this website. It is supposed to be a transparent process, and you can actually watch online the deliberations in the Senate and the House. Most people don't have time to do that. If you do watch it, most folks don't have a clue what's going on. And so even though there are attempts to make it transparent, if you're not in there, and if you're not in the discussions, almost day in and day out, you don't know what's going on. And so the average citizen can't really impact a piece of legislation. That would be true for the average physician. Just because it's not a lack of knowledge, it's not a lack of intelligence, it's a lack of how does the process work? How do you get in there and influence them? So I'll get to that in just a second, how we do that. This last slide really speaks to the fact that oftentimes it's more about the relationship than it is about the issue. And what y'all have told me in my few years of doing this is that, Wyman, the issue's clear, fairly clear. There's some debate on either side, but the issue's fairly straightforward. An optometrist should not be able to do LASIK surgery. They don't have the skill, they don't have the training. Why do I need to go up there and tell a legislator that? That's why I went to medical school. That's why you have an ophthalmologist. And secondly, why in the world do I need to give money for that? They should just do the right thing. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. And that is our political system. So you can either be involved and play by the rules of the game, even though you don't like them, they're still the rules of the game. Or you can decide to not play by the rules of the game and to not be involved. If you choose the latter, others who are involved and who do play by the rules, even though they don't like them, they're going to get their way, because it's more often about the relationship than about the issue. And this is a great for instance. There may be a bill that we've worked very hard on to get it in the right position, but a senator says, you know, I'm going to put a minority report on that bill because I've got this other issue that's related to housing, or this other issue that's related to road work in my district. And I want that to go through because that's what's important to my constituents. Therefore, I'm going to put a minority report on this scope of practice bill or this e-prescription bill because I want you, other senator, or you, lobbyist, to give me what I need. And you would like to say, Senator, I understand your position, but that DOT roadwork has got nothing to do with this bill. And in all candor, he would say, I don't care. I need and I want X. If you want Y, then give me X. And there are literally hundreds of those types of discussions and deals that go on every day. And so what looks like a very clear issue, and there really shouldn't be much debate at all, becomes a heavily debated, unclear, obfuscated issue, because it's not about the issue, it's about the relationship. So what many people think that the right picture is, that's how things are done. You sit down around the table, you discuss the issue, you come up with an answer, and you implement it. But in South Carolina, it's much more like the left. Let's go out, have a barbecue, talk about some things, but not get too deep, because I don't want to offend anybody. And let's build relationships, and then see what we can do or really not do, and so that I can get reelected next year. And that's difficult for many physicians, because it's just not clear cut. So what we've done is we have brought, and we got this idea from Texas, a White Coat Wednesday. And what we do is we assist y'all just for a half a day down at the State House in setting up meetings with legislators and representatives just to facilitate the conversation that y'all want to have and that y'all need to have with them. Because as much as we do, as much as we want to do, when they see y'all, first of all, y'all are their constituents. We're just the advocates. Secondly, y'all have a much more powerful voice in your community because not only do you influence the staffs that y'all have, but also your patients. And they know that. Yes, ma'am. You do not have to, but it is always welcome. Always welcome. So we have just a half a day, and we typically get delegations together from be it Greenville or Charleston, so that we can assist you in speaking as a delegation to your senator or representative, so that they see y'all there and that y'all begin to build relationships with them. Now, why do we ask you to wear your white coat? Many of you don't even wear a white coat in the office anymore. But down at the State House, everybody's dressed like me. Conservative tie, dark suit, fairly clean cut. But when y'all come in with your white coats, obviously, there's a significant difference. And that's what's needed down there because they have constituents coming by all day, 3 days a week, 6 months out of the year to talk about their issues, whether it be the foresters or the insurance agents or whomever it may be. And so, in a sense, you are just another constituency. But in another sense, there's tremendous symbolism down at the State House. And they love symbolism. And so when they see the white coats, that represents to them the physician. It doesn't represent anybody else. And so when, in 5 months in a row, when they see the white coats there, the white coats are there, the white coats are there, the white coats are there, that says at least two things to them. That says, one, they're here. Yes, sir.
In the way of symbolism, would it be a little more powerful than having a stethoscope around your neck?
I think they get the point with the white coat, but yes, absolutely, Dr. Bradford. But they see it, so they know that you're there, they know that you care, and that you're involved. So we do that for a number of reasons, but the white coat is something that y'all have that's powerful, that relays a message that I would venture to say almost no other group can. So if you're interested in participating in one of our White Coat Wednesdays, please contact the SCMA and we can certainly get you involved, and we welcome your participation. Thank you all for your time.